Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and sit up nice and tall here. Lengthen through the spine. We're going to start with 10 chin tucks back. Okay, let's get ready and begin. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, good. Let's maintain that length. Okay, we're going to do our head turns now. We have 5 each side. Here we go. We're going to turn, come back to center, turn in the other direction, back to center. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good. We're going to get into the next portion of our warm up here. Okay. And we are going to start with a simple march. Okay. A simple march with an arm swing. Remember, we're looking for opposite hand and foot patterns. So as my right foot goes up, my left arm comes up. Okay. So seated right here or standing. Let's get ready and begin. Okay. Right, so I'm going to do the standing, but please feel free to do it seated if that is a better option for you. Remember, you're trying to look to see if you've got that opposite hand and foot pattern going. All right, maybe you can increase the swing and the knee raise a little bit if you feel comfortable, okay? But we're just warming up here, so don't go too hard just yet. Okay, we're just waking the body up. We're going to do lateral side bends next to wake up the side body, okay? In 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. We're going to side bend and side bend, okay? So not too fast. You're just trying to feel that nice stretch through the side body here. Here's our seated variation. Either or. Good, keep it going, seated or standing. We're gonna do hip circles next. All right. And let's get ready in 3, 2, and 1. We're gonna go nice and wide with our feet. And we're gonna rotate around. This is what it looks like standing here, okay? So really moving those hip joints in a circle. If you're seated, keep those feet wide. All right, but it becomes more of the upper body rotating here, okay? So pick a direction and stick with it. When I tell you, we're gonna go ahead and switch sideways. 3, 2, and 1, switch directions, okay? So whatever way you were just going, switch it up. We're going to go back to a march next. In 3, 2, and 1. And now what you can do, if you feel okay with it, take those arms up overhead. If not, just keep with the arm swing, okay? Seated or standing, opposite hand and foot. Reaching up overhead, as long as it doesn't cause any pain or discomfort. It's a little more challenging for the body. Engaging the core a little bit more. Keep it going. Stay nice and focused. All right, a little bit longer here. Feeling my body heat, that internal temperature rising here with this one. Woo. 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and time. Okay. All right. Next one is a lateral transfer. Okay, so we're gonna go nice and wide with our legs here for our standing variation. And you're gonna go ahead, you can even reach in the direction of that foot and reach, reach, reach. Okay, let me show you from the side. I'm just standing. So see, I kind of get this bend right here. And then the other side. This leg, the opposite leg is elongated, right? All right. The opposite leg is elongated while the leg you're reaching for is bending at the knee and the hip. Okay. Seated. Just tap it out here. Okay. Tap. Keep it going at your own pace. We've got one more move after this, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Last move, rotations, okay, rotational punches. We want to warm up the core muscles, the vertebrae, the spine here, waking everything up, okay? So if you're standing, there's a little more of a pivot on that back foot. All right, but we're getting that rotational movement in. You should feel the trunk of your body kind of loosening up here. Almost there. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and time. Okay. All right, guys. Warm up is complete. Okay. So go ahead and get a drink. We're going to do, just like last week, another 45-15. Okay. Today we have, it's actually 13 exercises, but it's 14 minutes long because no, I'm sorry. It's just 14 exercises. 14 exercises. Okay. So 14 exercises, a 14-minute block, 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of your transfer time. And again, that's a guide. Okay, you can adjust that as you see fit. The first exercise we're going to do is our ham curl and kick back. Okay, so here, and in fact, if you'd like, you can hold on to dumbbells here. We're going to go, instead of the straight arm, sometimes we do straight arm and we get into this stretching here. Okay, today we're going to bend at the elbow and get into our tricep. So you can do a body weight, or you can add a pair of dumbbells. Okay, seated, you're kind of at the edge of your seat here, and we're going to tap back just like this. Okay, 45 seconds. Let's get ready. And oops, sorry, let me get my timer back on. It popped off on me. And begin. Here we go. So you pick maybe round 1. If you still feel like you're warming up, you want to stay seated for round 1. You could always try that. Our next exercise is going to be our lateral 3-step and hold. Nothing new with that exercise, but I will demo standing up in between our little break period here because I will be performing round 1 seated. So just 10 more seconds here. 3, 2, and time. Okay, so option, if you'd like to hold on to your weights while you do this, you can. It's 1, 2, 3, and hold. 1, 2, 3, hold. Okay, so opposite hand foot pattern. A way to advance this is hold on to your weights. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, hold. 1, 2, 3, hold. 1, 2, 3. We're going to do a hinge next. But we're going to hold our hands or weight up near our chest, okay? So it's not our hinge and row that we usually do. It's just the hinge. It's just the lower body and lower back. 2 and 1. So what I mean by that is you have the option to hold a weight here or no weight and cross, okay? And you're going to push your hips back and then squeeze your glutes to lift. Let's go. Push them back. Squeeze the glutes to lift. And at the top, feel that you're tucked, okay? Feel your scoop here and you're tucking through your glutes. So down, scoop and tuck on the way up. Okay, down. All right. So you can have that weight right here, seated. Same thing. This takes the focus off the lats because we're not doing the row, and it puts it all on the glutes, the hamstrings, as well as the lower back around that sacrum area. 2 and 1. Okay, next exercise is our regular squat, okay? So feet are about shoulder width apart, slight flare out at the toes. You can hold a weight up near your chest as you sink it down and drive it up, okay? Down and drive it up. Let's go. All right, if you're seated with me, you could even take your weights if you're using them. Remember, these can all be done body weight. Okay, you can just go through range of motion and work on joint mobility, okay? And mind muscle connection without weights, okay? So if it's a day where you're like, you know what, I'm here, I showed up, but I'm not feeling 100%, okay? Always think, you know, there's always ways to tailor and adjust, okay? So squatting, pushing those hips back. Good, we've got 5 more seconds here. 3, 2, and 1. Now we're gonna do that tap back with an alternating front raise. We did these last week. So we tap and tap, tap and tap. So your weights, if you're using them, they just come up to shoulder height right here, okay? Tap, tap. And then you're going into full hip extension by tapping that toe back, okay? Seated, slightly different because we don't get the hip extension. We get the knee flexion here with the seated variation because we're sitting, all right? Next, we're going to go into our side step with a bent elbow fly. I'm recommending either body weight or your lightest pair of weights, maybe a 1 or 2 pound weight or water bottles or no weight. 2 and 1. And remember what this one looks like is we've got that bent elbow and we're tap, tap. All right. Remember, we're getting that nice stretch through the front. We're getting that muscle contraction through the back. Here we go. All right, here's our seated variation. If you feel that intensity, that build up through the upper back and the upper body, sometimes just holding our arms up in the air like this for an extended period of time is a lot of stress on the body. So if you feel that you're at that point where you've hit fatigue, go ahead, maybe you can just keep the legs going, all right, and let the arms shake out. And then when you feel okay, you can always come back to it. Three, 2, and 1. All right, we're going to do a hinge and row variation. Today, we're going to go wider with our legs. We're going to go just outside of shoulder width. All right, we're going to hinge down, single arm row, single arm row, single arm row, single arm row. Now squeeze to lift, okay? And back down. This looks the same seated. Okay, so we're wider with our stance. Our dumbbells are in between our legs. And squeeze. Let me show you from the front. Hinge, row, 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 and row. Now squeeze to lift. Okay, so our feet are much wider than our normal hinge and row, and our weights are on the inside of our legs instead of the outside with this variation. and up. And honestly, this looks the same seated here. Row, row, and row, and lift, and time on those. Okay, lunges, okay? Either holding onto the back of your chair, the side of your chair, or if you're advanced, you don't need to hold the chair at all here. All right, seated variation, we're doing our leg presses, alternating leg presses. Press, bring it back. Okay, so for the seated variation, I'm scooped through my core, leaning back, rounding my back. So I feel the strong sense of core engagement right here. And then I'm pushing that imaginary object away with the heel of my foot. Lunges, remember it's a 4 count. So you're gonna step it back, lower down, lift it up, and return. Okay, alternating sides. 3, 2, and time on those. Okay, moving along, we have our mambo that we got 1, 2, cha, cha, cha. 1, 2, cha, cha, cha. Okay, so 1, 2, cha, cha. Okay, so we're just gonna try to shake everything out. Okay, a little midway point here. Put some style and flair into it if you've got it. Or you could be like me and just count the whole thing through in your head so you try not to mess up. Okay, seated or standing. We're going into our slip rope squats next. Get a drink whenever you need it. Okay, you can always stop early or start late if you need some extra recovery time. 2 and 1. Okay, so remember, slip rope, that imaginary rope is at our shoulder and we have to go under and over, under and over. Okay, so there's this weight transfer, okay, from one leg to the other. All right, seated, our feet are wide. We're just gonna lift our body, or I'm sorry, lower our body underneath the rope from one knee to the other knee. All right, so we're just kind of, that rope's right there in the middle, and we're making sure that we go on either side of it. All right, so a little different. The lower body's not as, is not really involved here with our seated variation. It's more of a lower back sensation of stretching through the lower back. 10 more seconds here. And then we're going to go into rope pull. 3, 2, and time. Okay, remember this one? Pull, pull. Okay, so remember when you're standing for this one, I'm kind of doing a little tuck. I want to feel nice and solid right through the trunk of my body. Okay, and I'm pull, pull. Put a little gusto into it if you can. All right, like mean it. All right. It's the same seated or standing. Keep those glutes engaged if you're standing. Oh, almost there. These are sneaky. 5, 4, 3, 2, and time. Next one, we're gonna do our crushed press. So if you're using a weight, you can hold one in your hand here, okay? We're gonna go nice and wide with our feet. Once we found the appropriate length, we're gonna stay there. Our feet are gonna stay there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, just like in our warm up, okay, we had that weight transfer, but now we're adding a crush press, okay? So one side, press. Other side, press, okay? So one leg bends, the other leg lengthens, and then we press in between. Going at a pace that's comfortable for you. We're getting a muscle contraction on the bent leg and a stretch on the other. And I'm sorry, seated is our lateral tap, forgive me. All right, so if that just feels very complicated, come to our seated variation here. Okay, our next one is our chair mountain climbers, okay? So you're gonna hold on to the back of your chair, okay? I'm gonna really think of scooping my core here. So I'm scooping, I'm trying to round and scoop it out, and I'm gonna exhale as I drive those knees up. Little slant in my body. Really feel your core working here, okay? Seated variation is what we've been doing with our seated tucks, okay? So if you have a slight slant in your body, you're gonna feel that angle through your body. You're gonna try to scoop your core and really exhale as that knee comes in. 3, 2, and time. Okay, now we're gonna use the chair one more time. This is our final exercise. We're gonna do hip extension. So you're gonna go ahead and extend and extend. I want you to think every time that that leg goes back, your glute is contracting to make that happen, okay? All right, and try to keep everything solid through here so it shouldn't like, you're not trying to like make it go further by arcing through your spine here, right? It's trying to keep that glute contraction on. All right, seated. We're just going back to our lateral taps, okay? Because we target our glute needs with this variation, which is one of your 3 gluteal muscles. You're getting your glute maximus with this kickback here, okay? 3, 2, and time. That's round 1, okay? 14-minute block. So let's recover. That's kind of our demonstration period. Now it's the same exercises for 2 more rounds through. Okay, so we are going to go, and some days you might find 1 round is enough, 2 rounds is enough, or all 3 is great. Okay, so think about that. Like you can always adjust it to how you need it to be. Okay, so we're going to start back at the top. We have our hand curl kick back or kick over the chair. Yeah. Okay, remember our seated variation is more of that tap back. Okay, our toes are tapping back, and we're going to add that tricep extension with or without your weights. Okay, let's get ready. In 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Okay, so seated or standing, we're getting our triceps involved, our hamstrings involved as far as muscle contraction goes, our heart muscle, right? Because we're moving a lot of joints in the body here. So that's going to increase our heart rate too. Getting that blood flow to a lot of different body parts, right? That's going to increase our heart rate when the blood has to flow to working muscles. 10 more seconds here. And then you have the option to hold onto your weights as we do our lateral 3-step march. 2, and 1. Whew. Okay, so remember, if you're seated, you're just doing your march for 3 and holding. Otherwise, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and hold. 1, 2, 3, hold. Okay, here we go. Begin. 10 more seconds. Now 5, 2, and time. Okay, moving right along. Body weight or with a weight chest, we have just the hinge. Remember, this is going to focus on our hamstrings, our glutes, and our lower back area. My feet are about shoulder width apart. Okay, I'm going to push my hips back, that weight up near my chest, and then squeeze my glutes to lift up. I'm almost like scooped here a little bit and tucked, okay? Because I'm thinking of my glutes being what's lifting my upper body back up, right? So this looks the same seated, right? We're just bending forward and lifting up. Nice neutral spine, okay? And you're going through your own range. If your own range is right here, that's fine, okay? You don't have to come down as far. Like if this doesn't work with that, your body kind of rounding here, just don't go as far and work through your particular range of motion. And time on those. Squats are next. Goblet squats are next. So you can take 1 or 2 weights. Feet are going to go about shoulder width or a little right outside. Toes flare outward, okay? And we're going to go ahead and sink it down. Drive it up. Sink it down. Drive it up, okay? We're going to push our heels through the floor as we lift it up. Let me show you from the side. Remember, it's an alternating leg extension if you're seated. Okay, so see how this looks different from that hinge that we just did? Our chest stays a lot more upright. There's still a slant forward, but there's a lot more, we're a lot more upright through the chest, and there's a lot more knee flexion here. 2 and 1. All right, alternating, tap back and front raise, okay? So opposite hand and foot here. Okay, remember if you're seated, it's your knee that taps the toe back, okay? Here we go. If you feel like you're balanced, if you have a hard time balancing with this one, I want you to think of this. See how I'm out to the side a little bit further, a little more of a diagonal? That's gonna help your center of gravity and make it easier for you to balance if you come out to the sides a little bit. Okay, so if it's really hard to just go forward and back, see if that helps a little bit. Just slightly out to the sides at your pace. I think it's that glute muscles that is making that foot tap back, okay? That's the muscle that is involved with making that action happen. And time. Woo, okay. Let's drop those weights, or if you prefer to have a very light pair of weights, you can keep those. We're going to go into our taps, lateral taps with our elbow fly. Here we go. You feel any discomfort through your neck or anything like that, maybe lower your hands a little bit more, okay? Maybe something a little lower will help with any neck discomfort, okay? Body's always giving us feedback. It's always talking to us, okay? So just listen to what it tells us. And time. Woo! Starting to feel round 2. Okay, we are going into our 4, they're called gorilla rows. Okay, so we're going to go wider, a little wider than shoulder width with our feet, right? This is where our weights come on the inside. Okay, so we're going to hinge, and then we're going to alternate 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then we're going to use our glutes to lift up. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up. Look at that side profile. This looks the same seated. And again, if coming down, if this is too low to get down, it's okay if you're here. Just make sure that spine stays nice and neutral. Okay, we're trying not to have a lot of curvature in the spine. Okay. We're rounding through the upper back. We're trying to keep that neutral. And time on those. All right. lunges or an alternating seated leg press are next. You can hold on to the chair with both hands like this, one hand like this, or no hands like this. Okay, I'm gonna opt for both. Stay connected and focused on what you're doing. Stay mindful of your body. And remember, a little bit of exercise discomfort where you're like, oh man, this is like challenging. You know, my heart rate is up. I kind of feel like stopping, but it's not pain, like, you know, like acute, like physical injury pain. You know, try to push past that type of discomfort. But if you know it's like pre-injury pain of some sort, that's when we really want to stop and modify, okay? Time, okay. All right, our little mambo, that 1, 2, cha-cha-cha, okay? Little recovery move. All right, so 3, 2, and 1, here we go. So keep this at a lower intensity and just kind of reset because we're not done yet. We still got a few more exercises to do. This keeps us moving, but allows us to recharge a little bit by reducing the intensity without completely stopping. And this is, again, if you feel like doing, if you don't like this one and you want to do a grapevine instead, that's totally acceptable too, or any exercise you feel that's kind of like a nice little recovery move for yourself. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, moving right along. We have our slip rope squat. Okay, so back to our intensity. There's that imaginary rope right around our shoulder, and we got to clear under it. Okay, remember, if you're seated, you stay nice and wide with those legs and just do it with your upper body. Okay. So it's that weight transfer from one leg to the other, right? We're getting a lot of single leg work in today. Between our mountain climbers, our leg extensions, our ham curls, our side step squats and side and lateral lunges, and our regular lunges. There's a lot of single leg today. And time. Woo, feeling it. Okay, rope pull. All right, seated or standing. Remember, if you're standing, you're trying to make this really solid, okay? So in order to do that, I want you to think of scooping and tucking the glutes, okay? That's going to give you a little curve through your stomach here. And that's going to help you put a little intensity behind that, you know, like you're a little mad, pulling something down. I think I'm noticing I'm furrowing my eyebrows as I do this one. I'm trying to get into that feeling. Whew. 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Lateral lunge with our crush press. Okay, so either 1 dumbbell or 2 lightweight dumbbells. We're going to go ahead and stand nice and wide. Once we have our feet in that position, they're going to stay there, and we're going to lean back into one side, press in the middle, and then lean to the other side, press in the middle. I want you to think of driving through the heel of that bent leg, just like we do with our lunges that are forward and back. Okay. This is still a lunge variation. We're just doing it from the side versus doing it front to back. Remember, we're doing those lateral taps if you're seated. Okay. 2, and 1. Okay, almost there, guys. we have our chair mountain climbers. So remember, our seated variation is to hold onto the side of our chairs and do our alternating knee tucks into our body like we've been doing, okay, with our abdominals, or on the back of your chair here, okay? All right, so I'm trying to think of keeping my belly button drawn back to my spine back here, like creating this like hollowed out feeling. All right. I'm kind of, you see I have like a little bit of a lean forward in my body. If you don't feel safe on your chair, you could always do this against a wall too, okay? I should have said that round one, sorry. You can always just do this against the wall. 3, 2, and 1, or opt for that chair option. Okay, so next we're gonna do our kickback, okay? So think when we do that knee tuck, that's a core exercise, but we're also training our hip flexor to bend up. Now we're gonna do our kickback. Now our hip flexor is gonna open up, okay? And we're gonna really think of, as that leg goes back, think of your glute muscle is what's pulling. That's the muscle that has to activate to pull that foot back, okay? So when you're really in tune to not just, I'm doing the movement, but I know how the movement works, what's making the movement happen, it's easier to build that mind muscle connection, okay? So we're engaging the glute muscle to pull the heel back, and then we're getting this nice lengthening through our hip flexor, okay? We're stretching it out. 3, 2, and time. Excellent. Okay, that's round 2, guys. Recover. We're gonna go through it one more time, okay? All right, so final set through. We're gonna start with our ham curl and that tricep kickback, okay? Right here. So let's get ready. Top of round 3. And ready, begin. Here we go. Final set of everything now. Thinking of keeping that foot flexed. We're dialing in on a hamstring muscle contraction. Right, so the back of our leg, that muscle's working. And in the front of our leg, our muscle is stretching. So essentially that's working as well. They're just different, you know, different operating systems, right? Stretch and a contraction. And the same thing with our triceps, okay? Getting the back of the arms and the back of the legs here. 3, 2, and time. Okay, option to hold onto these weights, but you don't have to. Our 3 count march and a hold, okay? So this is core, glute medius, cognitive, finding our coordination. If you're advanced, you might find you kind of hop through your 1, 2, 3. Hop, hop, hold. Hop, hop, hold. Hold, okay? Or just march it through, okay? Ten more seconds here. 3, 2, and time. Woohoo. Okay, back to that hinge. Simply the hinge. So this is where we dial in on our lower back, our glutes, and our hamstrings. Our feet are going to be just about shoulder width apart. Toes are forward, okay? With or without weight. All right, here we go. We're going to push the hips back. All right, and then we're going to use the glutes, keeping the core scooped, okay? Hinge down. And you go through your range of motion, okay? If you have tight hamstrings, you might find that your neutral spine takes you to about here. That's fine. Work through that, okay? Don't try to make it look identical to mine, because we're all at different places and we all have different body structures, etc. So go for what the feel is, okay? And we're trying to work the back of the legs and the lower back, keeping the core engaged. And time, all done with those. Squats are next, goblet squats, with or without your weight. Feet, heels come about shoulder width apart, toes slightly flare out, okay? And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna initiate by the hips going back, but then we're going to keep our chest up as we bend through the knees and drive up through the heels. Really squeezing the glutes at the top end. Remember, you're doing an alternating leg extension for your seated variation. We're going to go to an alternating front raise next with those alternating tap backs. 3, 2, and time. Okay, so remember, no weight or lightweight here. Tap, tap, okay? And remember, if you feel your balance kind of like feeling faulty, try to come out to the side ever so slightly. That width will increase your center of gravity and make it easier for you to balance and focus. Good, almost there. 5 more seconds. And we're done with these. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, all done with those. Whew. With very light weights or no weight, we're going to do our side step and T-fly. Okay, 2 and 1. Here we go. You pick your intensity. And again, if you find you have pinched nerves in your neck or any kind of neck discomfort, maybe try it with your arms lowered here. Okay, or if your arms are just simply tired from being up for an extended period of time. Remember, we're training those back muscles, stretching out those front muscles. Really good for posture and mobility. 10, 5, 2, and 1. Whew. Okay. Going back to our gorilla row. Okay, so that is our wide stance hinge, right? So toes are forward, you're about shoulder width apart, right? We push those hips back. The weights are in between our legs as we 1, 2, 3, and 4. Squeeze up, okay? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Squeeze the glutes out. Get from the side. 2, 3. Lunges are next, or our seated leg press. That's 5, 2, and 1. Okay. Another big one here. We got our lunges coming up, or our alternating seated leg press. Okay. I'm still going to use both hands on the chair, but again, you pick a variation that's good for you. Down, lower, lift, up. Okay, remember it's a 4 count. You want to keep that heel in contact, that front foot. You want that heel to stay in contact with the floor, because you really need to press through the floor with that heel to get that glute really involved in that elevation. We're going to do our mambo next, okay, our little active recovery. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so that 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. Take it easy here, okay? Any exercise you want to do just as active recovery. If you don't like this one, you can grapevine, you can just kind of just move around, you can dance it. It doesn't matter, okay? This is just movement, light movement, okay? So we can recover without having to completely stop. Back to another hard one after this. We have our slip rope squat next. Ten more seconds here. 3, 2, and time on those, okay? Final set of our slip rope squats. So remember, if you're seated, you're gonna stay wide with your feet and just your upper body is gonna clear that imaginary rope, okay? Otherwise, we're gonna sidestep it. Ready? Begin. Under and over. Go at a tempo, at a rhythm that works for you and your unique body. Take notice how the weight transfers in one leg over to the other. So there's a brief moment in time where your opposite foot is up in the air as it's lifting to come across to meet with your other leg. 3, 2, and time. Rope pull, okay? Upper body movement. Either seated or remember, if you're standing, give a little pelvic tuck, okay? Scoop, all right, scoop, boom, boom. Last time doing these. If you're putting a little intensity into these, it's a little sneaky one, you know, because you don't think it's that much, and you're like, wow. 10 more seconds. But when you put that intensity, that makes your muscles contract, right? It makes them work harder. 2, and 1. Excellent. All done with those. Final set of our lateral lunge and crush press. Remember, if you're going to be seated, you're going to do your abduction, okay? Otherwise, if you're standing, we're going to find a spot for our legs to be wider than shoulder width. And once we find that comfortable place where the feet are just going to stay there as we drive up from one side, press it in the middle, and then lean into the other side and drive it up, and then give us that press in the middle. So muscle contraction on the bent leg and stretch on the extended leg, okay? So one leg is doing one function, the other leg is doing the other function. I'm still thinking about driving up through the heel of my foot. From this position, I'm driving through the heel and pressing up. Time. Okay, almost there, guys. We have our last two core movements here. We're going to do our mountain climber. You can do this against the wall or on your chair, or remember, you could do this alternating seated knee tuck, okay, which is what we had been doing the past 3 weeks. You really got to think about pulling that belly button back. It's almost like a lot of work just to think about keeping that belly button drawn back, right? It can get exhausting just to hold it back. And then we're adding that knee tuck, getting into our lower abdominals. Also working our hip flexors here. Almost there. 5, 4, 3, 2, and time. All right, we're gonna finish off with those straight leg kickbacks, okay? So we can hold on to the chair or again the wall. All right, and I'm thinking of the glute muscle lifting that heel back, okay? And remember, ready, begin. We're not going so far. The goal is not to see how far you can get your leg back and up, okay? Because what happens there, then, you know, funny things start to happen through other joints, okay? The goal is to feel that muscle work right here as I pull that up. Okay, so squeeze. So you gotta build up that mind-muscle connection here, okay? Which takes some time sometimes, okay? Sometimes you don't feel it right away. You might have sleepy muscles, they're not ready to turn on yet, so consistency is gonna help with that, okay? Three, 2, and time. All right, excellent work, guys. Woo. Breathy one today. Let's go ahead and get a drink. Quick cool down so I get you out of here on time, okay? Let's start in a seated position, okay? And we'll do a flex and point of the ankles here, okay, with a little ankle health. Okay, so flex and point about 5 times, and then circle 5 each direction. Good. And then when you're ready, go ahead and cross that leg, okay? Keep the foot flexed here. Lift up through the spine. See if you can feel that stretch through your glute muscle there. And while you're there, it's not a very pronounced, you know, it's not like we're leaning forward into it. It's very small movement here. But while you're there, if you want to go ahead and just self-massage with the, that's if you're barefoot. If you're not barefoot, don't worry about it. You can self-massage the ball of your foot, okay? Or, and even with your shoes on, you can probably do this. Like you can pull your toes, like think of a stretch on the top of the foot, okay? So you kind of pull like the tip of your shoe or something like that, kind of getting a little stretch right through the top. All right, and then you can stop the self-massage there and then just come back up. All right, you might feel like blood flow through your foot here from that. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So we're gonna flex and point for 5. And now circle 5 each direction through the ankle. And then when you're ready, you're gonna go ahead and cross that leg over, okay? Keeping this foot flexed, I'm gonna make sure I'm tall through my spine and just gently hinge forward through the hips. It's not a large movement. You should start to feel some stretch through that glute muscle, okay? From there, if you don't have shoes on, maybe you wanna rub the bottom of your arch here. And if you do have shoes on, just go right to kind of pulling the toes a little bit, feeling a stretch through the top of the foot, okay? And when you're ready, you can just go ahead and release that and then release your leg as well. All right, so from here, let's go into a lateral bend. Okay, so I'm gonna reach up and over. If you'd like to intensify it, you can go ahead and grab onto that wrist a little bit and kind of lift it up. Should feel a stretch all the way up the side body here. And then let's go ahead and do the same thing on the other side here. Good. Come back to center. All right, now we're going to twist and hold. So let's go ahead and start with both of our palms on one side. We're going to arc it over. Try to look past that back shoulder, but you're not forcing anything, okay? You just, really important to remember, you go through your range of motion, wherever, you know, that's going to look different on everybody, okay? Could look different on one side versus the other, right? You know, so just holding through your range of motion. It shouldn't feel painful, okay? If it's painful, then I would pull, you know, I would modify, okay? And now let's go ahead and just arc them over and get the other side here. You may notice one side of your body, you can look over your shoulder, and the other side of your body, you can't. Okay. Sometimes we have those imbalances. Just, I think the important thing is to acknowledge and take notice to our body. And that awareness really helps us dial in what we need to work on, right? And come back to center. All right, let's go ahead and inhale up, exhale, palms to heart. And one more time, inhale, exhale, palms to heart. Okay, thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed it today. And thank you so much. And hope to see you guys next week.